Okay, so in today's video, I want to talk about why reminders won't fix your show rate and what to do instead, just sending more reminders. If your show rate is low, the first piece of advice you usually hear is send more reminders, send one 24 hours before, send another one 3 hours before, then another one 30 minutes before the call. And yes, reminders are useful, but if you're already reminding people and your show rate is still weak, adding another reminder is probably solving the wrong problem. Because there are two things that need to be true for someone to actually show up to a sales call. They need to remember the call, and when the time comes, they still need to believe the call is worth attending. A reminder can help with the first one, but it has very little power over the second one. And that distinction changes how you should think about your entire pre-call process. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly where reminders stop helping, how to figure out what is actually causing people to miss your calls, and what I would fix before sending another reminder. We will also look at the questions and concerns that can make someone lose interest after booking a call. We will look at how to make the call feel clear and worth attending, and what should happen before the call so the prospect still sees a reason to show up when the time comes. And by the end of this video, you should be able to look at a low show rate and know what to investigate first instead of automatically blaming reminders. So let's say, for example, that Sarah books a sales call with you on Monday for Tuesday afternoon. On Tuesday morning, Sarah still wants the call. She understands why she booked, she trusts you, she believes the conversation could help her. But she simply forgot it was happening at 2 p.m. And if you send, hey Sarah, quick reminder that our call is today at 2 p.m., here's the Zoom link, that is perfect and it's completely fine. And that message solved the real problem. Now take the same person and change just one thing. Sarah knows perfectly well that the call is at 2 p.m. But since Monday, she started thinking, I'm not completely sure this is for me. I don't really know what we're going to do on this call. I don't want to sit through another sales pitch, and I still have questions. Now you send quick reminder, your call starts at 2 p.m. What did you solve? Basically nothing. She already knew the call was at 2 p.m. The reason she is thinking about skipping the call is still sitting there. So you cannot notify someone into believing a call is worth their time. And this is why I think businesses make a mistake when they look at the show rate as one problem. A 55% show rate is an output, okay? It's not a diagnosis. If 100 people book and 45 do not show, that number does not tell you why those 45 people disappeared before the call. Some forgot, some were never qualified enough to book in the first place, some booked too far in advance and the call lost priority, some became less certain after doing more research, some never understood what the call was actually for, some had questions that nobody answered before the call, some had a genuine emergency. And those causes are different for each prospect. So the fix has to depend on the actual cause. If people are forgetting, improve reminders. If the wrong people are booking, improve qualification. If they do not understand what the call is for, fix the way you set expectations before the call. If they have unanswered questions or concerns before the call, answer them before those concerns become a reason to skip a call. And this is why blindly adding another SMS makes no sense unless forgetting is actually the bottleneck. And once the prospect remembers the appointment, the reminder has basically done its job. So sending the same information again does not suddenly make the call more valuable. A calendar invite protects the appointment from being forgotten, but it does not protect the prospect's decision to actually attend the call. And that second part is where most businesses leave a huge gap. Someone books while they're still interested, then they leave your funnel and go back to normal life, right? They get busy, they look at the other options, they speak to someone else, they think about the money, they remember a bad experience they had with another company, they start asking questions they did not think about while they were booking a call. And their opinion can change, right? Because booking a call does not freeze someone's decision until the call starts. So if you want more book calls to turn into live calls, you need to look at what could make the prospect less certain between booking and the call. And I would keep this very simple, okay? There are two areas I would focus on before I started adding more reminders. The first is questions and concerns, okay? So look at your recent sales calls and listen for the same basic questions appearing again and again. Maybe people keep asking, how does this actually work? How much time will I need? Is this right for a business at my stage? What happens if I already tried something similar? And what exactly happens on the call? And those are useful signals, okay? So if 10 prospects ask the same basic question during the sales call, there's a good chance they were also thinking about that question before the sales call. And if the answer is basically the same for everyone, you do not need to wait until the call to explain it. You can answer it before the call. That could be a short video, a simple FAQ video on your confirmation page, or a short email answering one simple question. So whatever format you use, it makes sense, okay? And the important part is that the information matches a real question your buyers already have. For example, suppose you sell coaching and prospects repeatedly ask, how much time will this take every week? That question can turn into a concern before they get on the call. They may start thinking, I already have too much going on. I probably don't have enough time for this. And maybe they're completely wrong about the amount of work involved, but if nobody explains it, they make the decision using the information they have. And then your reminder arrives. Your call starts tomorrow at 2 p.m. That message cannot correct the wrong assumption, but a short message explaining what the process actually requires can correct the wrong assumption. And this is the type of thing I mean when I say pre-call process should do more than remind people. The second area is expectations. A lot of booking pages are incredibly vague. They say just something like, book your free strategy call. Then the prospect gets a calendar invite and that's it. But what actually did they book? What are you going to talk about? Who are they meeting? What should they have ready? What should they prepare before a call? Is this an audit, a consultation, a qualification call, or just a sales pitch? When those things are unclear, the call is easier to treat casually because the prospect does not have a clear picture of why it matters to show up on the call. So now compare two businesses, okay? Let's say business A books Sarah on Monday. Between Monday and Tuesday, she receives, your call is confirmed, your call is tomorrow, your call is in 3 hours, your call starts in 30 minutes. Now, business B still sends the normal reminders, but after Sarah books, she also understands exactly what will happen on the call. She gets answers to the questions that are most likely to create hesitation. She knows what she should prepare for your call, and before your call, you or your setter actually starts a real conversation with her. Both businesses are reminding Sarah. Only one of them is doing anything about the reasons Sarah may stop wanting the call, and that's the difference. And there's also another mistake I want you to avoid, okay? Do not assume every low show rate is caused by weak pre-call communication. Sometimes the leads really are bad, sometimes qualification is weak, sometimes a seller books people who were never serious, sometimes you allow people to book 3 weeks in advance, sometimes one traffic source produces dramatically worse prospects than another. And you need to be willing to find that out, because the strongest way to improve show rate is not to become emotionally attached to one explanation. It's to find the real cause of why people do not show up. So if I was looking at a business with 50 or 60% show rate, I would start with a few simple questions. First, where are the no-shows coming from? Do cold leads show at the same rate as warm leads? How long is the gap between booking and the call? Do people who book for tomorrow show more often than people who book for next week? Do people who reply to the setter show more often than people who never respond? And what questions appear again and again on sales calls? That information tells you where to look, right? If people say, sorry, I completely forgot, that's great, your reminder system may need work. If they say, I wasn't really sure what the call was about, more reminders will not fix that. If people repeatedly ask the same questions before buying, move some of those answers earlier. So fix the reason that exists, okay? And this is the main idea I want you to leave with. Reminders are part of a good pre-call process. They handle a very specific job, and they make sure someone who still wants the call knows when and where it's happening. But when a prospect knows exactly when the call starts and still decides not to attend, you do not have a reminder problem. You have another problem somewhere in the buyer journey. Maybe the call does not feel valuable enough. Maybe the expectation is unclear, maybe an important concern is unanswered, maybe they should never have been booked in the first place. So find that problem, then fix that problem. Because sending the Zoom link for the 5th time will never answer a question, remove a concern, or make an unclear call suddenly feel worth attending. And that is why adding more reminders is usually a weak response to a show rate problem you haven't diagnosed yet. So if you already book high-ticket sales calls and you want to see where people may be dropping between the booking and the call in your own funnel, I run a 5 free one-on-one workshops each week, okay? Before the workshop, I review your actual booking process, your confirmation page, your emails, your SMS, and the way your buyers are prepared for a call. Then we look at your numbers and figure out what is actually causing the lead. And you'll leave with the exact changes I would make to your pre-call process, and you get all the SOPs so you can build the entire system by yourself, okay? So the link is below this video. Pick a time that works for you and see you on the call. Bye.